Guys, we're here. Give us just a second.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Guys, it's Mark.
And it's Michelle.
This is Mark and Michelle.
Hi, Jasmina.
It's been a while since we've seen you. And Sean was on the other night, I think. But how are you? So we are going to continue on with the list of symptoms that I healed. And we're going to, hello, lovely person. We are going to talk about another category tonight, although we probably won't get through them all. This is the category of social symptoms that I healed from. And this is another one of the large set of symptoms that is a big hallmark of autism.
Yes.
Right? So, and last night we did communication symptoms, and that is between the social and the communication. Those are the two big sets of symptoms that are
visible,
the most visible hallmarks of autism. Krista! So let's start with, here we go, inability to read and respond to social situations. Okay, now what do I mean by that? Let me give an example. I can't think of one specifically from hey Helen. I can't think of one specifically from my past, but this will be a good example. When I was autistic, many times I walk up to a crowd and I never stopped to assess what was going on. And so I would just interject something and a second later find out it was completely irrelevant. Right?
Okay, so that I can't help but think of the restaurant, the El Torero story.
Oh, well, okay, there you go. That's a good, I couldn't think of that story, but that's a good. Now, this was a social situation that they were friends of ours. We'd known them for a few years. And so the four of us, our two friends, they were a little bit older than us, and then Michelle and I, the four of us went out to eat at a Mexican restaurant. This is when we lived in Atlanta. And the three of them were sitting there talking, and I was listening, as much as my autistic brain would allow.
As he sat there eating rice and beans. And
yeah, all the things to feed
all
strep.
The things that feed strep.
And so we were sitting there, and they were talking, and I said something completely out of the blue, and I thought it was perfectly relevant to the conversation.
And we were all like,
yeah, they were looking at me, and they were looking at each other, and I kind of noticed that.
I think we were all trying really hard to figure out what you were plugging into the conversation.
Oh yeah, well, it was totally irrelevant.
We all liked you.
Yeah, well, and there was no way to figure that out.
But it was so bizarre that we were just.
Well, I remember y'all getting quiet, and I didn't know why, but I was sitting there.
I wish I could remember what we were talking about.
Yeah, I don't remember either. And I said something clearly out of the blue and totally unrelated. And I remember y'all sitting there, gotten quiet and kind of looking at each other. I'm like, wonder why they got quiet. Wonder why they're looking at each other, I thought. I was like, whatever. And I went back to eating the rice and the beans. And
and the corn chips.
Yeah, and the corn chips.
Oh, my goodness.
There wasn't enough raw garlic in the salsa to counteract the strep. But anyway, that is a good example. Quite often I walked up to social situations, whether it was in high school, junior high school. I remember one case in high school. I was a senior, but I had to take gym class with the ninth graders. And
because he moved around so much.
We did.
And didn't have that elective finished or something?
Yeah, I didn't have by my senior year, I don't think I had 4 or 5 electives that Georgia required. And so I had to take classes with the lower grades because I had to fulfill requirements and that the state of Georgia wanted. And so I wound up in gym class my last year of high school, my senior year, with ninth graders. And I got picked on even by ninth graders because most of the time I didn't understand what the heck was going on. And so I remember that specifically as a senior in high school. And you think seniors would be immune to that. Well, they would be if they don't have autism.
Yeah.
You know, and never mind that the bullying continued and the picking and that kind of stuff, even until my mid to late 40s, you know. Then it considerably changed. I mean,
recovery had to occur.
It did. That did. After recovery started, and after being a few years on that did a complete 180. Nobody jokes with me like that anymore. And so, which is
I think everyone would be afraid to now.
Yeah, because my personality emerged that I didn't know was there. But this is similar to the next symptom is similar to, but the inability to know what's going on around you and be able to respond appropriately. Now, it's similar, but here's the difference. And I remember this is probably 10th grade in North Carolina. And I went into the gym, and there were groups of people scattered throughout the whole gym. And I saw all these people, all these different groups, and didn't see anybody I knew. So what I did is I just walked up to a group and stood there and said hi.
Wow.
See what I mean? And I didn't know.
In high school, that would be really bad.
Well, and that was high school. That was 10th grade, no less, in high school. And so that made me stick out like a sore thumb. Nobody even looked at me or responded, which was a good thing because the response more than likely would have been, and they probably weren't upperclassmen either. I probably just walked up some other 10th graders I didn't know. And so I remember that happening. And that, see, there was no way to be able to assess.
Navigate was a word.
Navigate is a better word. Navigate to assess the social atmosphere of each group. And then to navigate to ones that I would fit in. So there is assessment and then navigation. Mm-hmm. And that's how this is a little bit different. The first one is more localized into a single social group. The second one is among different social groups that you don't really know. And you're trying to find one that you fit in. I fit in more with the nerdy kids, and which made me uncomfortable then. Now, it's not a problem for me. And somebody want to call me a nerd, I'd be like, yeah, I sure am. You know, I own that now. But the inability to know what's going on around you and to be able to respond appropriately, yeah. For another idea, when I was autistic, I didn't know when people were running from danger or they were running in a game. And so probably, well, Jasmine, that is true. And teenagers are awkward. So add the extra awkwardness of that. And not only is there no navigation, but there's a lot of bullying that occurs too because of it. So, because being awkward, you don't want somebody coming in and pointing out your awkwardness or making you feel even more awkward, who's even more awkward than you. All of a sudden, all of their angst gets turned on you, and you have to deal with it and don't know how. So, but those two things, one is local. The first symptom is localized. The second one is more general, broad, trying to figure out social scenes, social atmosphere. Let's see. Oh, here we go. The third symptom we're going to talk about: inappropriate give and take in interactions with others. I was guilty of that quite often. I tried my hand at listening.
I wish we had video of my eyes glazing over.
Well, I do in my head. And all those times when you went, exactly. Because she was buried under an onslaught of information and words. And she survived it.
I did. Look, I'm alive.
She didn't get buried by it completely and suffocate under the weight of it all. But she's that tough. But you know, I can say that I remember a few times when I just had verbal and intellectual diarrhea, and everybody got spewed on who was close by, you know. And
you were really a know-it-all back then too.
I was
made for a meme.
Yeah, which one? And there's probably a few memes in what we talk about. But as far as give and take goes, and when I met Michelle, I was so happy to have somebody who liked me. A lot of my enthusiasm came out as just, would you pull on that cord? Yeah, thank you.
Kitty.
Let go of it. All right.
It was the table. That
Oh,
wasn't like
I thought. Oh, all right. So, so for me, she quite often had to deal with that. And I remember some friends of ours. We had, he was a string bass player and his wife was an artist. And you remember who I'm talking about. And they were friends of ours in Atlanta. We had gone over to their house, and I stood up in the middle of their living room and just started talking about Napoleon, you know, and they were shaking their heads, and you know, and I do remember that.
I don't remember that.
I do remember that, and I just kept on about Napoleon, wouldn't shut up, you know, and finally I got quiet. I think because we went on a tour around the house.
Oh.
So if I moved, I'd shut up.
Well, you know, I was really slick about getting us out of situations that you would put us in. And I would have said, "What, can I see your trains?" Because he had the trains.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So
I remembered. Yeah.
I was pretty smooth about smoothing things out.
Michelle knew how to salvage social situations.
But so many fights occurred, like when we would get into the car. You are so mean, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You are rude.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Yeah, not nice.
Not nice. So really often I said
yeah,
that.
we got in a lot of, and what it was is, and I see this in many other autistic adults, not all, but most of them, to be honest. When you're autistic, you're really pretty unaware of your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to tell me that you are, I'm like, fine, believe what you want, but I guarantee you the reason you have problems with other people is because you are not aware of how you treat them. And I wasn't. I thought I was. I thought, oh, you kidding? I know everything that I do. I am completely aware of.
He knew so much that I knew nothing.
Yes.
That happened a lot.
Yes, and we have since heard from other adult couples when one of the partners is autistic that is the case. Mm-hmm. And the autistic one always sounds like a know-it-all, and treats the other one as if they're ignorant. And then the autistic adults wonder why they get treated as if they're ignorant. And it's for the same reason.
It's a circle.
It is. It's a vicious circle. But that's the thing. When you can't understand the social situation that you're in, you can't tell me that you know it all and that you can handle everything and that you're better than everybody and you're the next step in evolution. You're just not. So let's see. Oh, great difficulty maintaining relationships. Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. I got lucky. But at the same time, I was also tenacious, and so was she. Mm-hmm. Because almost every other marriage I've heard between an autistic adult and a non-autistic adult has ended in divorce.
Many do.
In fact, the rates for divorce are higher when one partner is autistic and the other is not than it is when both partners are NTs.
Or both are autistic.
Yeah, because when they're both autistic, they just adapt, you know. But when it's an NT and autistic person and they don't know and haven't had help in that area, it becomes a serious problem, and it almost always leads to divorce. You know, I don't know what the rates are, but I'm pretty sure it'd be easy enough to find out. But that has almost every relationship that we've come across. Let's see, 1, 2 that I know of, and 3 actually. And I'm thinking of a lot of autistic adults that were in the support group that we ran for a while. I know at least 3 of them had been divorced previously. And then we had one of our support group meetings over here, and another guy showed up who had been married to someone else we knew. And they were divorced. She didn't know at the time, and neither did he. But that wound up ending in divorce. So the rates are much higher for divorce and unhappy relationships. Now, this is not just, I'm not talking about just marriage relationships, but friendships. And I'll tell you how, and I'll tell you exactly what I mean here. When I was in school, when I started college in 2000, I made female friends quite easily, even though I didn't know they were friends. They felt like they just kind of came into my life. I hung out with them for a few weeks or a few months or a couple of years, and then they disappeared. And I never knew why. I mean, that would just happen. And sometimes there were guys that I knew who would do that too, but that was much rare. It was always women. And so let's see, 1, 2, 3.
Wow, Jasmina.
Wow, you guys been together for 7 years? Pat yourselves on the back.
Great
That's
job.
saying something. Congratulations, you two. And for you podcasters, one of our friends here, she says that she's been with her autistic boyfriend for 7 years now. And
he's also doing the heavy metal detox smoothie.
He is, and we need to get back with him so we can see his progress now.
Right.
So just even normal relationships. These were study partners in my biology classes and anthropology classes. One was astronomy. But I even went to dinner a couple of times, or lunch with some of them. And apparently, being autistic, I didn't know how to carry on a relationship. I just thought I sat there and talked to them and was friendly to them when they were with me. And I thought that's all there was to it. But you know, what I realize now, having recovered, is I wasn't giving them the emotional feedback that they needed for me to maintain the relationship and for them to maintain it. They didn't feel like I had any stake in them. And I remember Sumita, the last friend of mine like that, she was in my biology class, one of my biology classes. I think she got mad because I wasn't giving her what she needed back. And she just disappeared after that. And, you know, and what was funny is, even after she disappeared, I started failing classes so much that all my other friends in my classes were moving on to other classes, and I was still stuck. And I remember coming home to Michelle and telling her, hey, look, all my friends have graduated on to other classes. And a lot of them had even graduated from college, gotten their degrees and moved on. And I was still stuck failing classes and not knowing why. I felt really bad about that because I didn't know what I was doing wrong, you know. Now, if I went back to school, I'd make friends, probably friends I'd have for the rest of my life, you know. Maybe because I could, you know. But then now I'm making friends at work that I've known and hung out with a little bit. And I've known them for a few years. And apparently now they're getting from me what they need to feel like I'm invested in the relationship. She is.
So what's that difference?
The ability to express emotion in such a way that they feel it as well as see it. You know, and because I tell my friends at work, like Jessica Mayer, I tell her quite often, I really appreciate you. I think you're a cool person. And I really like talking to you. Well, that makes her feel good about herself and about me. And so, in fact, the other day, we had talked, and I saw her for the first time that day, and she was still 10 feet away and put her arms out because she wanted to hug me from 10 feet away. And I was like, oh, you're going to give me a hug from that far away? You got to come over here. So anyway, but that's how relationships are now. They make sense to me. Back then, they didn't make sense to me. I thought relationships, you just hung out. Well, it isn't just hanging out. You hang out like Michelle and I did today. This is a good example. It's not often that we get time to just go hang out and do things, right? And so today we went and hung out at the IRS for an hour and a half or so, which was fun.
It was fun, actually.
It was fun. The guy who helped us out was really cool. He was incredibly helpful, gave us all the information we need and that we needed. And we sat there and kind of BS with him a little bit. He cracked up. We cracked up. We had fun. We got up. We walked out. He went on with his day. So,
but the cool thing was we were downtown in the city.
Yes. And
I never get out anymore. And we live in the suburbs, man.
We live in the country.
We live in the country.
This is the country in the burbs. All right. And so,
and that's okay if you like it, but we like the city.
We do. And so we were downtown Oklahoma City, and we decided, you know what, let's walk around. So we did. We walked to the main library downtown. That was really cool, you know. And we walked through a park near Myriad Gardens, which is a big, yes.
Thanks,
that's the fall here. Fall is probably a little bit past for you guys, but we just had fun doing things, being together in new places, doing things, you know. And so we we bonded more because we were hanging out just being. We went to Bricktown.
But guys, Mark keeps coming on. So like today was a different level than ever with Mark. So there's that. Okay, you live in a concrete jungle.
Well, yeah.
Thanks, Krista.
And yes, I hear you, Jasmina. But I grew up in a big city, Atlanta, Georgia, with about 6.5 million people. And I spent the last 25 years of my life there. So I'm used to a city, and I like hearing the highway and smelling the restaurants close by and that kind of stuff. But country is unusual to me. But she grew up in the country, in Missouri, in southeast Missouri, near the Mississippi River. So, you know, her area of Missouri is a little different than the culture here. These Scots-Irish folks, they're eccentric. but anyway, but I'm digressing here.
Yes, you are. You're dying.
Oh, am I dying? And so
so relationships.
But see, now relationships have deep meaning for me because I get something from the relationship besides just spending time studying and going, oh, there's a woman who likes me and is willing to sit and talk with me. You know, it means a lot more. It's the same. A woman likes me and is willing to sit and talk with me, but I see her light up now when I do. And that is what makes it all different for me. That's what makes it worth doing, worth being, because I see how much she likes me.
Do you feel how much I like you?
Oh yeah, like when I did my birthday dinner today, because next Tuesday is my 51st birthday. So we did birthday dinner. We went to a barbecue place and got a salad. Yeah, because you go to barbecue places and get salad. And we got 2 big old baskets of fries. And so.
Yeah, Krista, sorry about that.
Yeah, I hear you, Krista, and that's unfortunate. And maybe you guys can do that on bikes. That might be easy. But well,
I think that would be extra painful.
Well, maybe it would be.
Yeah. I don't think he can ride a bike.
It's possible. Maybe those rickshaw type things. Matt does that at work, where they pedal. They're like pedicabs, you know, and you guys can ride around in them. And there's somebody who is on a bike afterwards, and behind you, and you guys get pedaled around the city, and you just sit there and watch it go by. That would work. And there's pedicabs downtown, but
there's also carriages.
That's true.
In Bricktown.
That's true, and the trolley cars.
Yeah,
that's an option too. Yeah, streetcar. Yeah. But anyway, that's kind of what we wanted to talk about tonight. That got us halfway through. But the great difficulty in maintaining relationships, the reason for that is the inability to give the emotion back that the partner needs in the relationship, the appropriate emotion. That's the difficulty. And there's nothing wrong with a person who has autism. You just have autism. But unfortunately, having autism keeps you from doing certain things in relationships that the relationships absolutely need to be maintained. And so that's where we're going to leave it tonight. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. And let's keep doing the celery juice, keep doing the heavy metal detox smoothie, keep doing the lemon water. Definitely go to www.healyourautism.com/buy the book, and that'll be Heal Your Autism's Do-It-Yourself Guide.
And this list of symptoms is in the first book.
Those
which
are
you can get at www.healyourautism.com.
And that book is Buried Alive. It is Buried Alive: One Man's Journey Out of Autism. All right, guys, we will see you tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow night.
Yes.
See you all tomorrow night. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.